and welcome to Ufology Explored. In this week's video we shall be exploring animal mutilations, the causes, the characteristics, and are they real or not, or what can we do about them? Animal mutilations, the phenomena is worldwide. There's thousands of reported cases every year. It happens to all animals, such as birds, seals, cows, horses, sheep, hedgehogs, dogs, foxes, badgers, any animal you can think of really. In the 17 main characteristics regarding this phenomena, and I'll go through them. 1. The removal of one or both eyes. 2. The removal of an ear. 3. The removal of part or all of the tongue. 4. The removal of the larynx, its throat. 5. A jaw is stripped down to the bone, so along there. 6. Major organs are missing, often removed from only small holes an inch in diameter, with no damage to anywhere else, and there's also damage to the remaining organs. 7. The removal of soft organs from the lower part of the body, including udders, the reproductive organs and genitalia. 8. The removal of the anus up to a depth of 5 to 12 inches in large animals. 9. The majority of the blood is missing, or there's very little found around the carcass, or it could be discoloured. 10. Animals have broken bones such as legs or ribs. 11. The presence of surgical incisions or cuts in appearances. 12. A lack of predation such as bite marks, scratching, tearing, footprints, blood and possibly wool or meat spread about. 13. The lack of scavenging, obviously crows, vultures, any other scavengers, wild dogs, cats, whichever country you're from, you'll know your own animals that's scavenging, you'll know your own predators as well. Animals dumped in unusual places, over fences. Some have been found up trees, some largish animals, or in another field to where they weren't before. A lot of the time other animals won't go near the carcass. That's number 15. Number 16. Marks, holes or scorch marks in an area near to where the carcass has been found, but nothing really to do much with the carcass, but it's been burnt. And a lot of the time there's been strange lights or helicopters seen in the area before these things have happened to the animals. I've got 3 cases here. I'll run through them quickly. Remember, it's up to you to go and find out the sources and evaluate the evidence for yourself and to make up your own mind. Don't let me make it up for you. The first happened in Colorado in 1967. It was a pony. It had been stripped from the neck up of all flesh. Its brains, spine and internal organs had been removed with precision, and the wounds appeared to look cauterized or burnt. It was drained of blood, and there was no blood around the carcass, so it hadn't leached out or come out from one of the cuts into the ground. It wasn't anything around there. There was no animal, human or vehicle marks around the carcass, and the only footprints that were there was the pony's own, which had stopped 30 meters away. That's one case. The second case happened in Dulce, New Mexico, in March 1978. The police were informed. It was investigated. It was an 11-month-old cross Hereford Charolais bull. It had a rectal core, it had its reproductive organs removed. It had precision cuts. It did have some of its major organs. Its liver and heart were still in place, but they said they were white and mushy with the consistency of peanut butter, which I don't think is a normal for the heart and liver. Samples were sent to Los Alamos and another two places for investigation. Los Alamos did the heart, bone and muscle. They didn't have any explanation. They didn't have a definitive conclusion as to why they would be like this. The colour and the texture of the organs weren't investigated. The liver samples were sent to two other places, and they found that there was no copper in these samples, and there was 4 times the amount of zinc, potassium and phosphorus in the samples that were sent, and the scientists there couldn't account for the anomaly. The blood samples, it was a light pink in colour, and it was alleged that it didn't clot for up to 7 days. When the carcass was removed from the site, the hide was very brittle and the flesh was discoloured, and overall there was no definitive answer to what had caused the animal's death. There's another case on Dartmoor in the UK. There was 51 sheep killed on 17 different occasions between 2005 and 2007. Now most of them had broken necks. Some had tongue and eyes removed, a jaw strip, rectal coring, and there was little or no blood found around the carcasses, and also there was a faster rate than normal of decomposition, and one of the incidents happened near to a farmhouse, so they'd have to be pretty silent, whoever was doing it. The last case, sorry, I've got 2 more. In Henry County, Missouri, there was 3 cows. They were missing, though they were found eventually. They had tongues. The tongues were missing. They had 1 ear each missing. The udders and reproductive organs were missing. It had a rectal core, and other organs were missing too. And there was a lack of blood around the carcasses. And I'll give you a last 2 more. There was Carmarthenshire in Wales. There was a 7-year-old horse. This happened in January 2012. It was found dead. Its eyes were missing. It had 1 ear missing. It had a jaw strip, and its stomach was cut open, exposing its innards. And the last one, Port Lawrence in Texas, July 2013 to February 2014. 21 sheep on a number of occasions were found dead. They found 2 small incisions behind the ears, and organs were missing, and again there was no animal, human or vehicle marks found anywhere near the carcasses. And that's just 4 or 5 examples of thousands worldwide. I mean, these are the most famous cases. So there has been investigations into this in America. There was 2 investigations. The FBI in 1979, by an agent, Rommel, he investigated it, and basically the anomalies couldn't be accounted for by conventional means, and the ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives in America, they also did an investigation, and they basically said that there definitely needs further investigation into this phenomena. Theories. There's a number of theories. The first one obviously is natural causes. The second, predators and scavengers. The third, human activity such as cruelty. The fourth is cults. The fifth is government and military experimentation. The sixth one is unknown animals, and the last one obviously is the extraterrestrial hypothesis. And what I'm going to do now is go through each one individually and explain its pros and cons. Natural causes. This would be it's just died. It's old. Or it's died because of the conditions. Now they say some of these where there's holes found in them, they say it's due to decomposition. Now I've never known decomposition to work as fast as one day. I mean, I've lived on a farm. I've seen what dead animals look like after a number of days, weeks and months. And yes, they do bloat up, especially in hot weather. They do decay, but after one day you wouldn't find them with a jaw strip. Its genitals missing, its anal tract missing. It's impossible. I'm not saying some isn't if they've been found recently, but a lot of these people who've had the animals, they've seen them the day before and they've been healthy, because farmers do look after the animals, more, well, 99% do, and they feed them and they keep an eye on them. And also decomposition wouldn't make your internal organs vanish or be a neck up over, and it would be different to sea animals as well, and birds. Predators and scavenging. Animals have a fight or flight. We're animals, that's what we do. An animal would, if it was attacked by another animal, it would have scratch marks through the claws or bite marks, and there would be evidence of a struggle, whether it was round about where the carcass was found or nearby. There would be excessive bleeding due to the big cats sort of strangulate the animals by the throat. I've never seen a lion go for a hedgehog or a bird like, but I'm not saying it's impossible. But you would expect footprints around the carcass, you would expect gnaw marks on the bones, and if an animal had taken the time to kill another animal, why would it just eat its backside? Why would it eat its udders when there's nice big chunky thick beef parts of meat? And it would rip the bits off, and there wouldn't be clean incisions or anything like that. And especially in the hotter countries such as Africa, where there's a lot more scavengers, like you've got your vultures, you've got your wild dogs, your hyenas in Africa, and various other animals. They wouldn't last as long, and some of these animals aren't touched by scavengers. In the UK, our biggest predator in the UK is either a dog, a fox or a badger, and there ain't no way a fox or a badger or quite a large dog is going to take a fully grown horse or cow down. Impossible. Absolute rubbish. So anybody who says it's wild animals doing this, it might, I'm not saying everyone hasn't, sheep haven't and other animals, but in the UK we have no large predators. America, South America, parts of Europe have bears and wolves. Asia, Africa, the Far East, yes, you have your large. The UK does not. Also, they don't catch birds and they don't go into the sea. Human and animal cruelty and poaching. Yes, some will be human, down to humans, but if I've gone to such as poaching, if I've gone to the lengths to catch me a big cow, horse or sheep, I'm not going to leave the carcass there. I'm going to cut what bits I want off and go, and you wouldn't leave the best bits. You wouldn't take a bit of bottom or a little bit of skin off the jaw. It's just ridiculous. Also, no person's ever been witnessed charged and found guilty of any of these um, animal cruelty. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because it does. People do, but in the case of a horse isn't going to stand. We know what a wild animal is, and be stabbed. They will run. Like I say, I've lived on a farm. Um, if you've got feed, they'll come, but they'll tend to know you. They get to know you, and they wouldn't let a stranger do anything to you. Also, it's hard if catching one sheep or cow is hard enough by yourself, but imagine doing it at night. And we used to have dogs to help us, sheep dogs, and it was hard enough then. So during the night, trying to catch one sheep or cow, the noise alone you would hear, and to be honest, I don't know. Like I say, definitely some people have been cruel to animals, because unfortunately it does happen. They need a good whipping as well, I think. Cults, again, it's with the last one, also with cults as well, there's no sign of any human footprints, vehicle marks or anything else, or slaughtering of the animal. Like I said, poaching, you would cut your bits off, there would be a lot of blood, and there isn't. Cults, would a cult really go out into the country and do things to animals in the country where they could be caught? I don't think they would, because cults by their nature are generally secretive, and you wouldn't take a cow home, slaughter it, do what they want, or a horse or a sheep, and bring it back to the place that they got it from. That's going to be caught twice. It's I don't know, it just doesn't make sense, and if it doesn't make sense, it's probably not true. I think cults generally do birds and like such as chickens and perhaps goats, but they would buy one and take it to wherever they were doing it, and probably dispose of the carcass there rather than taking it back, or would dump it somewhere where they wouldn't be caught. And again, how are these cultists? Are they running about the fells or the moors or the fields to catch the sheep making a noise again? And it's just ridiculous to think that they would. Like I say, an animal, once you hurt an animal, it's going to run. Unknown creatures. This might work in the expanses of North America, South America, with the forests, Russia and China, and in places like that. But in the UK, we have sheep, cows, and horses, and smaller animals have this phenomena, and it would be quite hard for a large animal, such as the Yeti, the abominable snowman. I know I shouldn't laugh, because I believe in U.F.O.s and people think I'm a crank. Chupacabras and things like that. Or big cats in the UK. It's been said, one's been seen, but I don't think they would have done all these things, because again, there would have been predation marks, and there hasn't been. So I think, again, unknown creature. And what creature? There's only two creatures I can think of worldwide that is probably large enough to do some of the animals in his worldwide. One's man, and the only other thing really I can think of is a dog. Because we, like I say, we have got no big animals in the UK. We don't have bears, wolves, alligators, big cats. We have none of that. Like I say, our largest predator is a fox or a badger, and badgers also are vegetarian. No, they eat both. They're not vegetarian, they're omnivores. So again, it might work in some countries, but to say for everything, and that's the only two animals I can really say. And then the dogs would have to work in packs to get a full-size cow, a healthy cow or bull, because that bull, if one kicking it, would kill a dog, without a doubt. Number 6, government agencies and military. The UK, I would think every modern country will have places where they test diseases. We have Porton down in the UK. I'm sure America, Russia, China, Germany, Italy, they'll all have their own infectious disease places, and that where they keep weapon grade diseases. But if they were wanting to test animals, it would be so much easier and less hassle just to go down the local market and say, right, well, I want a third party person, right, I want 20 sheep from that area bought. It's in the UK, it's easy to find out where these animals, because they all have passports now. So you know where they come from. So you could say, right, that sheep's from that farm X, we know what we've done there, or we just want to see, is there any more levels of radiation or any other things. I'm not saying it's anything bad, just to test. And they wouldn't, would the military really come and steal animals from people's farms, take them away and then bring them back and dump them? I don't think they would. One, they can get caught. They could get filmed easily. And why would they risk the reputation of the armed forces, which I'm sure, certainly in the West, our armed forces are second to none, and they're highly respected, and they should be, because the men and women of our armed forces are fantastic. Strange lights and helicopters have been seen. Is that before the incidents happened or after? We're not sure. Is it part of it, or are they, like I say, are they being proactive or reactive? Extraterrestrials is the last one. I think Sherlock Holmes said, if you take away the ridiculous, whatever's left, no matter how ridiculous, is usually the answer, or words to that effect. Sorry, Arthur Conan Doyle, I do apologise. So they're the 7 sort of theories and the pros and cons. Like I say, many of these animals, that they show no predation or human or animal activity around the carcasses, which to me is very strange. Anyway, we're going to go to the quote of the week, which is by Richard Nixon, former US President. Hello, back again. And so, quote of the week is by ex-President of the US, Richard Nixon. He was President 1969 to 74. And this is what he said in an interview. I am not at liberty to discuss the government's knowledge of extraterrestrials, U.F.O.s, at this time. I am personally being briefed on this subject. That's the President of the U.S.A. That's his quote of the week. So some thoughts and questions. I've got a question for you. I've looked up, and like I say, there's only dogs and humans that are worldwide. Every continent of the earth. Yes, we have birds of prey and crows and carrion. Crows, ravens, other scavenging animals, rats. But I'm looking for animals that are large enough to take down a fully grown cow, a bull, a fully grown horse, to chase it round a field, like I say. If you know of any, please leave them in the comments below, because I'd like to know. And also what can get birds and sea animals. I can't say, like I said, there's only humans really and dogs worldwide. But again, dogs don't go in the sea, not unless you're an owl sea dog. Sorry. DEFRA doesn't investigate these claims. Well, they do investigate, but they don't usually tell you the outcome. And yes, a lot of these cruelty to animals are perpetrated by humans, and it's despicable, to be honest. Whether you like animals like cats or dogs, doesn't matter. It doesn't give you the right to mutilate them. A lot of these actually aren't classed as, they're not really mutilations. The more, there's a system to it. It's done systematically. It's not just an animal tearing at another animal. It's systematic and clean. As I've said, go and look at the information for yourselves, because it is a really good subject. Also, certainly in the Far East, certainly in India and probably Africa, the price of livestock over there is astronomical. It's it's their livelihood. It's if you it's their life and death really. If you own a cow or a goat or a couple of sheep, that's a lot of time put into them to look after them, and they ain't gonna kill them or anything like that. And certainly in Africa, the tribes and possibly the Far East, I don't know what the locals, they sit out and watch the animals, or they herd them into corrals so they're safe for the night. I'm not saying rogue animals can't get in or they can't get out, but and also the religious context. Buddhists, Hindus, the cow's sacred in India, um, and they don't let people go around slaughtering them and certainly being cruel to them, because that's most human beings have a empathy with animals. Nobody really wants to hurt them. It's just them few nutty cracker jacks out there who do, who obviously have something wrong with them to want to do that. That's my mumble sort of thing. Like I say, if you can think of anything that I've missed out, certainly, like I say, leave it in the comments, because I would love to know your thoughts on the subject as well, whether you think it's just people making stories up, or you think it's just normal um, normal parts of day-to-day life and death in the circle of life. Anyway, if you've liked or if you've liked it, hit the thumbs up button, consider subscribing. I would really like your comments on this one, because I'm very interested in this, obviously being an farmer, and I would, if you go to one channel, I will leave some links, but if you go to, it's from richplanet.com and it's called Silent Killers. It's on YouTube and it's also on richplanet.net. That's a lot more in depth into animal mutilation. It's Richard D. Hall and his interview with David Caton. Fantastic program, and there's a part 2, I think it's NATO and human mutilations also, which we'll cover in our next video. Anyway, I'll see you later. All it's me to say is good night, God bless, and be safe. Thank you.